The company is saying that it is negotiating an agreement with its majority shareholder, although a final decision has not yet been reached. And Akiko, this is pretty significant given this is the world's second largest car maker by volume. Again, no final decision just yet, but the company is confirming that this is a serious discussion they're having.
Yeah, and we saw Volkswagen get a big pop, shares over in the European session on the back of that, up about, I was going to say 9%, 7.5% there during the session over there. 20 billion euros is what the expectation here is in terms of the IPO. Could be one of Germany's biggest listings this year, at least according to the Financial Times, and Porsche expected to be valued between 80 billion to 90 billion euros. You know, Brian, when you think about the direction Volkswagen has been trying to move in terms of going 100% all EV, Porsche is one of those brands that's been a big driver. Their EV model outpacing the 911 in terms of sales. They've sort of been moving in the right direction here, and investors seem to be really excited about the prospect of a potential spinoff, at least in the public markets.
Yeah, absolutely. Volkswagen as a whole making that big pivot over to EV, perhaps accentuated by the big emissions scandal that they had a number of years ago. But I think it's important to note that spinning off Porsche isn't a true raw EV spin-out play like was rumored with Ford at the end of last week, which I believe the company has kind of deflated the rumors of. But we have to understand that Volkswagen has in its own brand portfolio outside of Porsche some electric vehicles, as well as Audi, which also has their own separate EVs. So spinning out Porsche doesn't mean that all the EV portfolio is going to go out into that separate company. There's a big political reason for doing something like this, and that's because of the fact that this is a company that at least Porsche SE, which is the investment vehicle for the Porsche and Piech families that really own 50%, over 50% of VW's shares. This would reduce their holdings and their voting power over the Volkswagen brand itself, which we also have to remember also has a substantial government aspect of it as well, because Lower Saxony, that region of Germany, actually having a large investment stake in the company as well. So doing a spinoff of Porsche could reduce some of those holdings. So very interesting to see how the political aspect of all that comes into play with this as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it speaks to broadly, if we're talking about Volkswagen specifically, about the transition that the company is undergoing right now since they announced that they would go 100% towards EVs, spinning off Porsche. To your point, there's a political element too, but that is part of this transition the company is undergoing to really go 100% in that direction. And, look, if you get a pop on the shares on the back of the announcement, obviously not confirmed, or at least not, the decision has not been made. We should say the company has said they are in fact considering it, but it'll be interesting to see how quickly this moves, and if in fact the expectations for this IPO, this being potentially Germany's second largest, will in fact transpire.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for them to bring back the microbus from the hippies era. Apparently, it's going to be called the ID Buzz. Supposed to be released at some point in the next few years, but we'll leave that there for right now. Coming up on
Volkswagen.
Yeah, exactly.